Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Average Superstar TV. I'm your host, Lauren Lepre. Please give me that pleasure and honor and hit that subscribe button on YouTube, Amazon, Stitcher, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And this week, we are jumping into the television world because one of the best shows ever in cable history just ended this week. Technically, this is a spinoff show. You could say the entire Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul era. I think we've been going about, 15 years with this show here. So, yeah, we are going to hit the recap and go over this entire series. So for all you fans out there, I hope you like it. With me is superfan Drew Schaefer.
Hey, how you doing?
And Will Bozarth.
You got it. And to
Awesome.
show how much of a fan of the show I am, here is a lawyer up license plate signed by Mr. Bob Odenkirk.
Sweet.
Oh, yeah. I should have had you send me over those pictures you had because I think the fans would have totally like it. But that's how I am. I didn't prep enough, and here we are at the live show. So, boys, so this is a show that I think definitely changed television history. It made a lot of actors that have been around a long time have their breakout role. I mean, starting with Bryan Cranston all the way back to Breaking Bad. And I mean, the people that write this show, I think, are great. I think they know also when to get out. I don't think Breaking Bad was ever going south in any way, but I just think like we are ruling the world. Let's quit while we're on top. Let's leave them with the audience wanting more. And then what do they come up with? A great idea of taking a character that came out of that's just lovable. Like, the scumbag Saul to the Saul that is all heart. We just love this dude. So
of all the characters they could have done a spinoff with, I mean, a Hank Schrader spinoff would have been awesome. Get to see him do all of his police work and everything. A Gus Fring show would have been awesome. How did he build up that chicken empire and do the meth business? But no, let's get the weird the weird lawyer in the flashy suits. Let's see what his background in. And wouldn't you know it, it worked out almost better than Breaking Bad itself. I loved it.
Yeah. Drew, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, I have to say, when we're talking about like what would have been a spinoff and like the best idea for it, I was thinking, a Mike one would have been great, but obviously Better Call Saul almost became half of Mike's show, once we got rolling with it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I seriously thought the Jimmy idea will take, it's basically kind of like the same idea with Walter. You take a guy here, he winds up over here, and you just see like the way he went about it. They both have like the same type of like, Walt goes into Heisenberg, Jimmy turns into Saul. So you just see different paths about how they do it, and they're different people, but same result seems to happen.
Yeah.
There was a line that Mike said in, it was either the last episode or one of the last episodes, where no, it wasn't Mike. It was, well, at this point we're going to be spoiling a lot, but in the episode where it's the flashback where it's Saul and Walt down in the basement getting ready to get shipped away. What is that light that's on my face?
You are getting your sun glare somewhere in your house.
That is weird. Hold on.
Yeah, it's sunset, so it's hitting. Yeah, there you go. Yep. Yeah.
I got to hold my hand here. Michael Bay is attacking me. I thought there was a weird video effect. Wow, that's crazy. But so Walt said they're talking about regrets and everything, and Walt tells him what he regrets, and then Saul mentions some minute stupid thing, and then
slip and fall story from when he was like 22, I think.
Yeah, it was the slip and fall, and Walt says, "Oh, so you were always like this." So that's the difference between Walt and Jimmy. Is Jimmy was always kind of a scumbag, whereas Walt kind of had to be out of necessity.
And one thing I love about that scene is because we're looking at Walt like towards the end of him being Heisenberg, and he just sounds so unhinged when he's talking about like, you know, how the Gretchen and Elliot, oh, they steered me out of this company. You know, they were like, they wanted me out to take it over all for themselves, when I really don't think that's how it was. And then like the last thing you see with Walter, he like looks at the watch that Jesse gave him on his 51st birthday in Breaking Bad. I don't know if you guys remember that, but he looks at that watch when really that's what he regrets, you know, giving Jesse to the what neo-Nazi guys, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. And I still think that flashing back to Breaking Bad, for an ending of a show of a main character, you got Walter White, who went and blew his wife up, basically said, like, I'm bored with you. I'm over. I have an ego. This is what lives inside. I don't care about you, but you're going to have more money since you're the wife of my child. And at the end, he shot up. What does he say goodbye to? He goes to the machinery and touches it like children. This is what he loves. He loves his meth house. This is what led him up. That, like, who would write something like that and make it work?
Yeah, seriously. So he's such a bad guy towards the end of it, but you're still like, oh, I still root for you a little bit.
You're like, please get up. I'm just like, please get up. Don't be bad.
The amazing thing about the partnership between AMC and Vince Gilligan is most of the time when there's a fantastic show, it's going to get canceled maybe halfway into the whatever story they have plotted out. But no, they let Vince Gilligan play out Breaking Bad from the beginning to the end exactly how he wanted. And then they let him do it again. They could have canceled Better Call Saul. They could have. But no, they let him play it out exactly however long he wanted.
I think AMC is a little bit of a different beast because they haven't been really in the game that long. I mean, it's been over a decade, but they're still technically new because, like, if you look, The Walking Dead's in its 11th season and finally ending, but I just think they look at people that help build the network that they have a certain loyalty to. So I bet you that's why between both of those shows or all three of those shows, you know, I think they get to hang around longer, you know, unless the ratings somehow plummet. Like, that's the only way I could think that there's like business is business. Sorry, you got to go.
And the thing with AMC is, like, you know, 10 years ago when they were airing Breaking Bad and The Walking Dead at its peak, you know, I mean, and they had, you know, Mad Men, they had a couple other shows, but they were on fire at that point. And then, you know, they're still with Better Call Saul. That was their best show since Breaking Bad, I think, obviously. Yeah. But, you know, after this, and like, I used to be a huge Walking Dead fan. I stopped watching. I just couldn't really continue. But I mean, after this, I don't know what they have really going on. The only reason I really kept watching AMC is for, you know, sometimes they'll do good horror reruns, and then obviously Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
From what I saw, AMC's got a giant lineup of this new stuff. I think they're going in a new direction. Actually, this past weekend at Monster Mania, the Mr. Walking Dead himself, Greg Nicotero, I think is how you say his name.
Nicotero.
Nicotero, yeah.
He was like there. Makeup, yeah. Oh, that's cool.
He was there. I mean, he's an offspring of George Romero from Day of the Dead forward. So, I mean, Walking Dead is his. And,
for sure.
You know, I actually got to ask him at a Q&A. First off, I congratulate him on 11 years because, I mean, who gets to 11? Seinfeld, Married with Children, Cheers, there's not many that make it this far. Right. But I basically said, like, do you think when the whole Walking Dead universe, because there's still the Fear of the Walking Dead and still going and stuff and these standalone movies, like when the smoke is clear, the zombies are asleep. And I was like, I bet you the answer is yes. Do you think 10 years from now, when we might want to see zombies again, because I think we're a little burnt out of them, could this show come back? He kind of hinted, like, it's kind of already maybe been talked about a little bit, you know? Right. So that's basically what type of network this is. And I can easily see the people that the creators of Saul and Breaking Bad, if sure they have other ideas, have been waiting to pull the trigger on, so we'll find out. But you never know if things hit south. You could revisit this universe.
Bring back Old Faithful.
You could just pick up where Jesse is. Like they're coming for Jesse up in Alaska or wherever.
Absolutely.
A couple months ago, I thought I read an article that Vince Gilligan was interested in starting a spinoff for Hank Schrader. I don't know where I read that, but if they were to come back, I know now they're saying that they might not do another spinoff, but if they do, it'll be a long time from now. Hopefully they stick with the Hank Schrader idea, but
I would be more for me if like they're giving me access to pick a character and go, I would probably honestly go with where Kim goes next.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that would be a cool curveball, and obviously Mike, like going back to when he was in Philly. I think that's where he was originally. His character was from. To me, Mike is one of the main glues of that. Like he just is. I love his voice.
He's such a part of the universe, you know.
I love the creepy / he's still tough old man. I just think like that's like a lost cause, but like he's a direct answer. He's professional. No matter what happens, he has one of two solutions. Or just there is no solution but what I'm about to tell you. You know. But let's bang this out here. But so the Almighty Saul himself.
Yes.
Performance. I mean, isn't this guy amazing? Bob, I remember back
Mr. Show.
I knew him before that. You may have had this in your head too. When Fox first started in like 1989, 90, they were only on a couple nights a week. They really only had like 21 Jump Street, Married with Children, Simpsons, Tracy Ullman Show, and on 7:30 for only one season on a Sunday was the Ben Stiller Show.
Oh, yeah.
And that is where I first saw him. First saw Andy Dick. First saw Janine Garofalo. First saw Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller was like in The Last Emperor and a few other things. But I love that show. It was amazing. But he was the one guy that, like, I know he went to Mr. Show. I didn't have HBO. So he was like the guy, to me, the other three hit stardom quicker. And I just think he arrived later, but wow, did he arrive?
Yeah, absolutely.
He really surprised me. I didn't think that he would be able to pull off a dramatic role, only do kind of quirky comedy. But Saul definitely elevated my opinion of him. And I still haven't seen his movie Nobody. I don't know why I'm dragging my feet with it.
Yeah, you'll like it. It's definitely worth it. Yeah. Because you'll feel a little Saul in there as sarcasm, but it's a totally different direction. You know, it is. It's like, yeah.
It's a little off topic, but you know how he had his heart attack, while filming this season? I swear it was from him doing all that, getting into shape for that movie. That's what I really think it was from, honestly. Because in that movie, that guy is moving a lot for his age. Like, he's doing it.
He trained for 3 years for that, so I don't know.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe the stress. Maybe he was on McDonald's diet. Who knows? But good.
When I first started watching the show, it was because when you see him in Breaking Bad, you only see like the one side, like the funny, like quick talking quips, constantly just keeping the conversation going. So I was like a little nervous going into Better Call Saul. But like when I started seeing him and like Chuck, like when they had like their serious like emotional scenes, especially like when you get to like when he breaks into Chuck's apartment, I think in season 2, and then Chuck gets him on the recorder. Mm-hmm. Like when he's freaking out, I'm like, I'm so buying this right now. Like this guy is killing it. And then later in the show, what really sells it for me is something in season 6 when he tells Kim he loves her, and he's just broken up when he's like, don't leave me. Like, yeah, I thought that was my favorite scene he did in the whole
and
show.
he thought she would never really leave him. I think he just looked at, she's seen me at my worst, even through this, we'll be okay. And he, It's
and like
not
his reaction to her leaving the law. I mean, like I thought he absolutely killed that. He killed it.
Yeah.
And it was that scene when she finally did wind up leaving him that made me think that maybe they were going to kill her off because she knew too much. But we all found out fairly recently that they didn't, thankfully.
Yeah. He's he's great, and he's also responsible for living in a van down by the river.
Yes,
he actually created that character, and they shot it down when he was a writer at SNL, and he left on bad terms. So they took his scripts and said, "Watch what we do with this."
Was he also involved with the Chippendales sketch?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, it was him and Ben Stiller. That's where him and Ben Stiller met, because they were doing writing, and there's always those terrible Saturday Night Live behind the scenes stories about like how toxic it is to work there. And I think they were just looked down upon, like, who are these two? And obviously Ben Stiller has a big family in the business. He had pull, so he's like, I think he just looked at, hey, I could get a show on the new network. Let's see what happens. And off they went, so, but let's keep that streak going here of the almighty Kim.
Mm-hmm.
This girl, I never saw this actress before this.
Same.
I don't know. Yeah, like she just kind of came in like a tornado. I thought she complimented him, Saul's character very good. I thought these two actors worked very well together. I loved their strength. I loved her calling out bullshit. I also loved that they can destroy each other at times. It got so heated, and when you think they're going to do it, they just get right back together and team up against whatever the problem was. I love that chemistry them two had.
They really had no option except to split up, because she was right. Neither one of them was actually good for the other person.
Even people die around them all the time. It's
yeah. Bad things happen when they were together. So now maybe in present day they're still together, but they have that chain link fence between them, so everything will be okay with them in the long run.
And with Kim, like, also for me, like, when I first started getting into it, like, I was interested, but I was like, who is this chick? Like, I don't really get where they're going in this direction. Like Saul having a wife before, like I don't, but I'm like, I trust the guys, right? So I'm gonna keep watching. And then, as you slowly start seeing how strong she is, and like how, like, she has this certain side to her, like when they do the early scams, the Gretchen, and I forget the Gretchen and Victor, I think that's their aliases they would use when they do this, their little scams. And she starts growing better. And then obviously in season 5, when one of my favorite moments of her character is when she tells Lalo, "Oh, you need to get your house in order because it's not Jimmy." I'm like, whoa, dude.
Yep.
I'm like, that hooked me in even more than I was already hooked in, because like Mike said, she's in the game now, which I just didn't see that coming.
Do you think Saul/Jimmy would have had the balls to say that to Lalo? I don't think he would have. I think just Kim.
No, at least not at that point in time. Maybe a few years into him being.
I think he would have found a more better way to deliver it, not as like
not as harsh.
yeah, that was like woman in power right there. Like, yeah. Look, if I go, I go. You're probably gonna do it anyway. I'm at least gonna say this to you, Yeah. So that was really good, and she was just. I also like that, like, the actress was good looking, but not like Pamela Anderson or something, like, because like someone like some super stellar woman would never be with a Saul. It just wouldn't happen. I thought she was like perfect.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even Lalo's like, how's this girl with you?
Yeah.
I mean,
but they had that thing in Hollywood forever. Like, remember, like the aging actor? He's like 65 years old. The lead guy ends up with the 29-year-old pretty girl. You're like, get out of here. This would never happen, So I thought they checked that box perfectly. The right box checking.
Everybody that they cast in the show, they looked the role, they acted the role. Everybody was perfect. And Kim, like you said, if Kim was any hotter, it would have been an unbelievable relationship.
Yeah, it would have been. It absolutely would. Yep. I didn't like her wig in that last season, the last few episodes. The black, I thought it looked like
I
a
thought
wig.
it looked a little rough too.
Yeah, it looked like they just slapped it on to get out there. That's
It
what
looked
I
like
thought.
even like her bang part was like uneven. I swear, when I was looking at
It
it,
looked like she was like dressing up as Cortisha, like Adams, like really quick, like, and it just sticks out for one night at a party because it's okay. But this is a television show. They should have. I think they could have did a little better than that.
yeah.
But speaking of the
Oh yeah,
almighty Gus,
the man.
let's just take a second that when I actually look at this guy, there's not a lot of actors. It's something I always try to do. I get that in my movies. Like, I have a death stare and it's believable. This guy has it. Of that, like, it's an odd mix. It's a cold. You don't know what I'm thinking. I will bite your face off / no, you're good in my book. Come on, let's get ice cream. Like, you just don't know what you're getting out of this guy.
And he can turn it on just like that. Like when
He can be rewarding, or to the max, or you're in trouble, man.
Yeah.
And he's another guy who, before Breaking Bad, I know he was in some other things, but until Breaking Bad, I didn't know who the guy was.
I never saw him either.
Which made this entire Breaking Bad universe refreshing, because we got to see actors that aren't exactly established just have amazing breakout roles.
Yeah,
absolutely. And like, obviously, when Bryan Cranston going for me, because I grew up on Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah.
And then when I grew up a little bit more, I got into Breaking Bad, and I'm like, this is just, it's so crazy, his range. It's just unbelievable.
Did you see was it a Super Bowl commercial or something where it might have even been an SNL skit where they had Bryan Cranston play both roles? Like he was.
Yeah, definitely.
I actually do know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like he was Walter White doing his stuff, and then when he
wakes
woke up,
in the dream.
yeah, he woke up and it was like, oh, good, it was just a dream.
He's like, and he's right next to, I think her name was Lois in Malcolm in the Middle. But yeah, I know that sketch you're talking about.
Yeah. Where was he?
I always loved his fixing of the collar. I was always a big, and it's why I loved, like, how he ended in Breaking Bad. Like, even in that moment, like, his brain's still enough there to fix
the last thing he ever did.
Last thing he ever did. And it was, I actually got very fearful without season 4 of Breaking Bad. And like, when I was like, he's gone, I was like, that was a beautiful ending, but how's this show going to survive?
Yeah.
It's like season 4 of Dexter was the same way. Dexter season 4 was the best season in that entire series.
Absolutely.
Yeah. They had the Trinity killer. He was dead. He killed Rita. How are they possibly going to fix this or make it even better? And it just tanked. So I understand your fear of what are they going to do now that Gus is gone.
Yeah,
they definitely pulled it off, unlike Dexter.
And sorry.
Go on.
With Gus in Breaking Bad, we only basically see him as like the boss, the main villain, really. But what I love about with Better Call Saul is, like, we get to explore, like, where he lives. We almost see him. I don't remember exactly what episode it was, but it almost seems like he has some, like, OCD kind of stuff going on with, like, just how he has his house, just like the particular stuff he does. And then I also loved, and I didn't see it. It's crazy how this show worked, because when Lalo, catches Gus off guard, and I'm panicking, like, as if Gus is gonna die right here, right? That's how good the show is, because I'm so into the moment. But like, seeing him actually scared like that, because we don't see him like that in Breaking Bad at all. He's always 2 steps ahead of Walter in every way, shape, and form, except when he isn't. But like, seeing him scared like that just added so much to, like, him as a person to me. It made him feel more real,
And I think that was the first time when Lalo surprised Gus and forced him to go downstairs into where they were making the meth lab. I think that was the only instance in the entire series. Now, when I say that, I include Breaking Bad, where his nice, clean clothes finally got dirtied, because he was always meticulous. He'd put on some kind of a suit or like a biohazard suit or whatever. but finally his good clothes got dirty, and I think that's the part of the scene that scared me the most, because we never saw what would happen if that were to happen to Gus, and we found out.
Yeah, and when Lalo shoots him, I'm like, I jumped up, like as if it's just so good, like how the show is, even though it's a prequel. I'm still like thinking he's gonna get killed right here, even though we all know what happens. But
Gus definitely had that with that cleaning thing. Like you wonder when he had his manager of the that night, when he was waiting to find out if everything was going to clear, and he kept making him clean the grease fryer. Was that saying like, you never clean it, I'm going to make you do it tonight? Or was he just, I'm suffering, you're suffering, and no matter what you clean, how much you do it, I'm going to keep sending you back?
Yeah,
I think that's what that was.
Yeah,
and
maybe,
it
was more of like him releasing his, like, he's got to release it into an outlet somehow.
Yeah.
Do this, it's not clean enough. You have to get it perfect.
Maybe a way to test his loyalty. If he keeps doing what I say, no matter how ridiculous the task is, later on I can trust him to do something else.
True. But another character, I never really saw this actor around, so I don't know if this was his first role or he's been around. This was his breakout, but this was an instant character I never liked. I had no sympathy, and this means, as a fellow actor, this actor is doing his job.
Dude, I loved Howard.
Howard. I mean, I don't even like the look of him. There's something about just his presence.
He just looks like a scumbag.
Yeah. He looks like a
bleached blonde hair, but
in a suit. That's exactly the best definition for him. But what a role this guy had.
Patrick Fabian. There were instances where I felt bad for him because of the things that Saul and Kim were doing to him. I felt bad because I felt like he didn't really deserve getting treated that way.
In fairness, though, he definitely was trying to put Jimmy down.
Yeah.
So I mean, he was the first two seasons like you're not one of us. You know, we'll do anything to knock you out. Like you're a little fly. We're trying to block out here. So when he was getting served, like when Saul was throwing things over the fence, hitting his car and stuff, like I couldn't help it. I'm laughing at stuff. You know, reminds me of somebody when they were in their 20s that would be capable of doing something like that. But you know, so
and an interesting thing about Patrick Fabian.
1 second, guys. I think I'm having
Drew, just if you have to drop out and just come back in. Go on, Will.
The thing about Patrick Fabian, for me, huge character in Breaking Bad. No matter how much you like or dislike the guy, a huge character. And apparently he's doing conventions now. He got announced for a convention down in Texas. So that's exciting. Hopefully he comes to the Northeast because I'd like to meet the guy. I'm curious to see how he acts around fans, because some of these people, not quite nice. But for some reason, I think he might be okay.
Sorry about that, guys. I was having some technical.
Hey,
you know the drill, dude. You did it. You know? Yeah, we're all good. Will's just talking about Patrick, but go on.
Okay, cool. Howard Hamlin, right? That's where we were at.
Yeah. We're just talking about like how good of an actor he was.
Oh yeah.
You know, and just the guy did his job. I always said, but there's certain actors that like, how can I explain this? Even though I had been an actor, Drew, your father's an actor. That's how I know him. There's actors are rare when I totally believe them. It's a rarity when I look at somebody. Like, I'll just give an example. And when I watch movies and I see a character get upset, sometimes I can laugh. You ever watch one of your friends explode and they're like you're supposed to be taking them seriously and you can't help to be like, ooh. Like Michael Shannon's the only guy that when he shouts, I believe. Like I just do it. He's one of the only believable actors. Daniel Day-Lewis, this guy though, even though he's not like a guy that raised his voice much, I just like you're sitting there like I just want to hit him. Like I don't want to kill him. I wanted to sneak him once in the parking lot just for being who he is. Like he's that guy, you know?
I want to smack the smugness right off his face.
Yep.
Like those.
Yeah. But which means the actor did his job, you know?
With Howard, like, too, like, because during the first few seasons of Better Call Saul, you know, he's pretty much like just he's not like he's an asshole, but he's not like villainous in it. And then, you know, once Jimmy tells Howard that, like, oh, it's your fault that my brother died. This is on you, like, not me. I was like, oh, I don't know about that, Jimmy. Like, I was like, all right, you know, he's a dick, but like, he didn't kill your brother. And then, you know,
Jimmy's the one that made him go crazy.
Yeah, you see him, like, there's another scene earlier. I think this is season 4, I want to say.
Yeah.
And, you know, you see Howard, like, in the bathroom, and he's, like, trying to clean himself up. He looks terrible. Like, even Jimmy's like, yo, man, are you okay? Like, what's going on? He's like, oh, like, you know, I wouldn't wish insomnia on anybody. And then, you know, the next season, you kind of see he's getting a better. You know, he's got, I think he tells Jimmy that he's seeing a therapist. But, like, it's so crazy because, like, we find out in this last season, we found out more about Howard than we have the first 5 seasons. We didn't know he was going through a divorce. We didn't know what kind of, like, house he lived at. We didn't know, like, you know, how he really felt with some like certain things. But, you know, and obviously he gets the worst deal out of anybody in the entire show. You know, he gets absolutely totally screwed over. And I just think it's great. You know, he's goes one point, ends up in another. But, like, you know, it's almost like I would have actually preferred a little bit more of Howard and his day-to-day life. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that could have added more towards his end, you know, but it's still fantastic stuff.
How about that death scene?
Well, let's talk about that scene, because let's turn the page and keep the hate going.
Oh, perfect. All right.
There we go. I mean, I never saw this guy before. He reminded me of the actor that played Simon in The Walking Dead, Negan's main guy. But one of the things I love that he's how smart and calculated he is. I love how his humor, but slash, he'll bite your freaking Adam's apple right off of you. Like this guy was one really good, you know, heel. He knocked it out of the ballpark.
He was like Gus in that you weren't really sure what he was thinking, and he was really scary, but he played it on the other end where, you know, while Gus was kind of stone face and intimidating, this guy, on the other hand, he's laughing, he's happy, he's jovial, and then the next second he's going to shoot you right in the face. So pairing him and Gus was a good move.
Absolutely. And I didn't hear many people talk about it, but he had like one of the most violent scenes. Like earlier in season 6, I think he travels to Germany, or he's in some country. I don't remember exactly what country it is, but there's a scene where he chops the guy's arm off, and nobody seemed to be talking about it. I was like, we've never seen anybody get like a limb chopped off in Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul. Like, just the violence this guy has is just. And his first scene, like his first episode, he kills that guy at the money wiring place, I think. And that, you know, at first I'm thinking, well, that was easy. Like, how's he going to just kill somebody in public? But then they bring it back in season 5. So
the only limb I can think of getting chopped off was Danny Trejo's head when it was put on the tortoise. But we didn't see it happen though. So you're right. That might have been the only.
I dug his whole, like, I thought it was a little overkill, to be honest, when they invaded his house to take him out and he killed everybody. But I did heavily admire the 2 guys in the tunnel and just like, where they go, and he just sticks the gun down. You don't even need to look. They can't run.
Yeah,
you can't run. Like that was that was good. I dug that part there. Like, as much as I didn't like the beginning, I was like, he can't get out of this like he did. Okay, but yeah, his character was also great. How he kind of laughed his last breath. I dug that too. I did. I like that he didn't say get me an ambulance. He didn't say F you. He laughed it. I was like, that was a perfect way to go.
Totally.
Yeah. But keeping the streak going from 2 seasons.
Oh, the man. He's great.
Yep. Well, I mean, when you dial it
As
back,
soon as he's introduced into Better Call Saul,
I liked a lot that you got to see his.
I gotta go grab something that's related to him so I can show you guys. But
Go for it.
right back.
Go. But he definitely had that. I liked seeing him not as he was in Breaking Bad. I like seeing.
totally.
I like
He was
seeing.
vicious.
I like seeing the guy in charge. I like seeing how he commanded respect. I liked how when somebody came by the taco stand or the wherever they owned, and he was short, and like he says to Mike Mondo, like, was this a charity? And then, like his cue, like, get out there and bring him back in and beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Like, you're freaking short, dude. Like, we're not like. So yeah, I dug everything. I dug how he raised. Unfortunately, I missed one, but our favorite twins. I just liked how, like, you saw how he kind of raised them even when they were like toddlers. Like, I'm a big fan of in movies when a character could, I'm kind of jumping off topic here, but could use their body language and not speak. And that's why I like those two brothers of just, there's no emotion. They love their family. That's all you need to know. And whatever dad tells them to do. And if you're on that bad list at that moment, you're done. Like there's no compromise.
No,
none.
So there's a company called Royal Baubles. And
Okay.
they've been releasing a super high quality Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul bobbleheads. But these are like $35 a piece, but the quality is insane. So in their Breaking Bad line, they have
that's nice.
It is head bobbles.
Like they got the
just like
oxygen tank on there and
Yeah.
everything.
now.
The bell's there. Do I see that right?
Yep. 1 second.
That's cool.
It's fantastic.
That's awesome.
Oh wow! They should make a whole shirt of all of them, like Turgo and everybody. They should just make like the whole Salamana family.
Oh, yeah, every single person in that family was terrifying. And like you were talking about the twins.
Yeah.
2 more people that I didn't know until Breaking Bad, and they're great.
I think the suits is what really helps sell it
They
too.
look sharp, man. They look
They
sharp.
weren't like the wife beaters or any of that, where you could kind of be like, I think I could tell. There was just something about those sharp suits too that like added.
And I think in Breaking Bad we see like when they're slowly like going from Mexico to Albuquerque, in that scene in the hay bus when they're getting snuck in, and the guy looks down at the skull on their boots. I think that's like a Salamanca like sign that like, oh, this is who we are, this is our family. And like as soon as he saw that, the guy's like, oh man. He's like, oh dude. And then they just light up the whole entire bus.
Yeah.
Both of those guys do autograph conventions. So when they're there, they're in the suits, they're in full character.
I love those guys, man.
Yeah.
I follow them on Instagram and they're like super interactive, man. Like I've messaged them on Instagram just saying like, hey, you guys are awesome. They're like, oh dude, like we love the fans. Like this is what we do it for. We're just happy to even be here, man.
I would say you'd love to see a spinoff of them, but I would need 2 to 3 more actors to hang with them at all times to speak, because I don't want to see them.
We've got to throw Tuco in there, the whole side.
I don't want to hear them talk at all. I just want to see them like kick ass and like the other actors could talk for them.
Talking usually does ruin a silent character.
It's very big. Like those guys have it. I remember like in Predators, there was that Asian dude that was like the quiet one. I was like it. Then he spoke, and I was like, ugh, I don't want to hear you talk at all.
Do you know what show did that?
Guy that doesn't talk, or the girl character, whatever. But I just think the mystique is better. It's like, look, it's like you didn't know anything about Boba Fett. Now you know everything. You're just like, you kind of killed it, man. Did
you guys ever see Fargo season 1?
That's one of my favorite seasons of any show.
I love that show. And the deaf hitman I thought was just such a great idea. Like he perfectly, he doesn't really talk, he mouths it, but like he gets across his emotions and points just with his own body language. And it's kind of like the same thing with these guys. They just have such, and obviously Hector himself, the guy doesn't, I mean, he only has like 2 seasons where he actually talks, and the rest of it it's just his face, the way he carries himself. Such a like just really cool.
Well, you have Gus, and it's another big thing in like television history where Gus, and Hector go at the same time. I mean, that was like chapters closed. Like,
seriously.
yeah. I mean,
that's a whole cartel thing.
That's a big risk with a show to survive after that. You don't want to overplay your cards, but they did, and it still worked. But speaking of the family,
yes,
yeah. This guy's gonna have a long career. I just think he's good, and I like the whole aspect of he loves his dad. No matter what, it's like this is. I don't mean to be doing his dad, but this is the only way I know. Could I take you and get you out of here? And the dad being proud's like, I know where you got that money. I'm not going with you. I dug the whole father-son thing.
Whose death scene surprised you more, his or Howard?
I'd have to say Howard.
I have to say Howard too, because to me he was always a marked guy. I just kind of felt like I just felt he was definitely going. I don't know.
With Nacho, it was either he somehow meets the vacuum guy or he's dead. There was no like I didn't see him like he either way he had to go somewhere.
But I didn't think he was going to do it himself.
No, the way he did it surprised me the most. Because I was like, obviously, once again, it's a prequel, so you're like, I'm thinking, I wish he could just freaking shoot some of these guys, but I know that can't happen. But they did it the best way that could have done it. Is like, okay, so if he would have fired on any one of those guys, his dad would have been gone within 24 hours, guaranteed. And I think he was thinking about that towards the end because he was looking at, Gus, Hector, and Juan Bolsa, the guy who was, he had hostage. And he was like, you know what? It's over. And just ends said and done. And then one thing I was super nervous about is because, like, after Nacho makes that call, we don't see his dad until I think the third to last episode or whatever episode is the second to last
episode. And I thought that was good that Mike had that conversation with him.
And he says, Nacho's dad says my favorite line he's ever said. He's like, "You gangsters and your justice. Like, what are you talking about? This is not justice."
Yeah.
Like it's over. He just leaves Mike with that. And Mike's like, wow, like
couldn't argue with that.
No. and Mike has an answer for everything. I mean, Mike has and so to shut Mike down, that's a big thing, but boom.
Dude, Michael McKean was so good in this show.
Such a good actor, man. Such a good actor.
First thing I always say to start off, Lenny and Squiggy were the best combination ever on television.
Hello.
Yep. They're amazing. So I've always been a fan of him. What a issue the guy had about electricity.
Yeah.
Like I just like, okay. I was like, that ain't nothing to do with Saul's character. That's just what. But the one thing this kind of goes back to Sopranos season 6. As much as you love Tony Soprano, sometimes you want to see just one time you wanted to see the guy lose. And when he got in that fight with Bobby and Bobby won, I was kind of like, he needed that. He needed to get put on ice. I did dig a lot that his own brother did that thing with the firm of like, Saul's a weasel. He didn't go pay his dues like we did. They put it in this writing. He can never work here.
Right.
I did dig that a lot. There's something about like, I'm pretty blue collar. Everything I have myself, I earn. And being a filmmaker, being a guy that does film festivals, I've done feature films. I have done the whole, you work and then you go to your real, your real passion. You might even work harder there. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I earn it. And I've had people have done one short film and they think they're my equal. So when Chuck kind of shut him down, it was like, yeah, for now, you're like, yeah. You're
not on my level. You're not on the level yet.
Earn it like we did. And he did.
You're not there yet.
Saul did that. Saul went out and became who he became. But I didn't think like you know, what I don't know, it was online classes or a few weekend classes.
I think it was University of some American Samoa or something.
Yeah, that was one thing I dug about Chuck.
Yeah. And I have to say with Chuck, like, so when I first started watching the show, I mean, I was 16, right? I was still like, I'm still young now, but I was still like, I really, really hated just the way Chuck was, the way he talked to Jimmy. But then as I kind of got older and grew with the show, like looking back on Chuck, I feel nothing but sympathy for him just because the guy was such a pillar of his community. And, you know, it was his mental health that was his biggest downfall. You know what I mean? Like, and first I was like confused. It's like, this electricity, like, what is this real? Like, I was a little confused about where they were going. But then in the episode, one of my favorite episodes of the show, Chicanery, when he finally, like, they're doing, it's the episode where I think it's Jimmy's like being, you know, I think he's going to be disbarred, and it's like their big courtroom scene. And then Jimmy places the battery on him, and Chuck's defense says, if my patient or if my whatever lawyer, thank you, if my client, you know, was schizophrenic, this wouldn't be in question. And he screams, I'm not crazy. And he goes on this entire rant of just all the crap that Jimmy's done. And he was actually right that Jimmy did switch all this stuff. But like looking back now, it's like Jimmy basically, his brother was already on a downward spiral, but Jimmy just pushed him over the edge for his own reasons to help Kim. But I mean, ever since that, you know, he had one little spark of hope and then just downhill. And I felt more sympathy than him. Like, I just felt so sorry for the guy, you know, because I hated him. But then I really thought about it. I was like, this guy was just suffering, you know?
You'll find that through also in general, like movies and television shows that you grew up on. You'll see characters a certain way. And when you watch the movie, get back into it, or a TV show years later, those characters you like might fall off because you changed as a person, and the characters you didn't like, you might see something different in them. You know, it's amazing how the journey of being a human, of me watching television shows and stuff, like the original Red Dawn was the only one that, in my eyes, there only is one, but there was that one character of Danny, 15 years old. All he did was whine the entire time. It's just like, we can't be up here. I want to be with my family, blah, blah, blah. But when the fight came, he helped and he did his thing, but I did not like his character. And as I get older, I start seeing like he was the only one human left in the bunch. Mm-hmm. Now that I'm older, I'm like, I like Danny now. You know, it's just amazing on how a movie you've been watching 30 years, you know? So that it as a viewer. So I totally get what Drew's saying. Hopefully we can get him back in here. There he is.
There he is.
Sorry, man, I got bad internet.
Yeah, it's all right, dude. But we're
you're running on 56K.
My Wi-Fi cuts out. It's a problem. It's a big problem, especially when I'm playing games.
Yeah, let me flip over to this is the last picture I got, and we could just kind of free form.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
To me, this guy is, I mean, he is a co-star, but to me, he's the sub guy of the series. Like, it was Saul and Kim, and to me, I thought Mike. Breaking Bad, I thought, you know, Jesse, and obviously Walter White. He was next because he was constant through everything. I just think, like, this actor's been around forever. He was huge in the 80s as always, like, you know, a mob guy, UHF, Beverly Hills Cop. This guy was everywhere and then kind of digressed. And I just think Vince probably was a guy that's like always liked him. It's like, this guy's got more in the tank that I can bring out. And there he is. You're just like, boom. I like the guy. And he's a Philly guy. His character's a Philly guy. So I was like, I always liked it. Of course.
Something I found interesting. I don't know if you guys picked up on it, but when Kim finally came back to Albuquerque, I guess to testify and whatever else she had to do, she pulled into the same parking lot that Mike was the attendant at, but they panned and they showed that it's now an automated thing that you pay with your card. So after Mike died, his job was completely wiped off the face of the earth. So they don't need an attendant anymore.
Huh? I didn't notice. That's great. I did not notice that. Huh?
One thing out of all the deaths ever between both shows, I didn't like Mike's.
I thank you. It's like the only problem that I had with Breaking Bad. Like if he would have, I'm fine with him dying.
Especially when you look at it now, like you're just like, oh, really? You're just
That's
kind of
how
like,
he goes out. Like he
like,
argues with
do you
Walter.
really think Walter White could get the drop on an ex cop that with all this experience? I didn't dig it at all. That was this one thing about
a guy that survived cartel hits,
yes,
and all the other shit he had to put up with.
he was
That's
a
how it
cop.
goes.
He was a legit cop too. Whatever he went down, and
yeah.
like Walter White, a guy that just got over cancer, has So yeah, that was one thing I wasn't cool with at all. But
and I felt like that's the best part about his character because like in that there was a little hole left in. I mean, it's still the greatest show, but like I still was like, that's how he went out. Like I could have used so much more Mike, and then thank God Better Call Saul happened because we got all the Mike I'd ever, we got to see him so much more. And he was also in El Camino for a little bit. He had a really great scene in that movie too.
El Camino is a great show. Anyone who doesn't like it just felt odd because of Walter White wasn't there. I will just tell you that.
Well, no, okay. So when El Camino first got released, I was in the camp of, oh, this is terrible, whatever. It wasn't good. But when I think when the hell was it? I think one of the Better Call Saul seasons was gonna start up. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna binge watch all of Breaking Bad, then watch El Camino to get ready for the new Better Call Saul season. The way you have to watch El Camino is as the next episode of a Breaking Bad marathon, and it went perfectly. I think having the several years gap between the show and the movie is what made me feel like it was lackluster. But no, it was perfect. I thought.
I thought it was cool too, and like for me to be rooting for Jesse, like you know how you always put yourself in the characters. If you were there, I always looked at. If I'm Walter, Jesse's a liability no matter what. Like when he said he was going to expose him, I'm like, I hate this guy. Walt, get rid of him. Like get rid of this guy. But for me to like be rooting for him, like here was this guy, he took a shot. A lot of people he lost, and that girl he got attached to, and the kid and all that, and he's going to go live off the face of the earth now. And he got it. Like he got there. I thought that was a cool thing.
I started to be more on the side of Team Jesse when the girl died. I can't remember what was her name.
I forgot. Yeah, and the kid got killed too, right?
No, the kid was poisoned. I think. No, Brock. Yes. I know the kid's name is Brock. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, so Walt poisoned the kid, and Jesse found out. So that's what set him through the roof.
Right, that's what set Jesse off. Like he poisoned the kid. Like this is freaking crazy. I'm going after him. Oh man, I can't remember her name.
And that's why at the end of Breaking Bad, when he told them to shoot him, he goes, "I'm whatever you say, I'm doing the opposite. Do it yourself." That's how much I'm respecting this moment because you basically gave your life to save me, but I still hate you. But I won't kill you for this.
Well, and with Jesse's, like that's the thing I love about this show is like the fates of the three main guys we follow. Walt, Jesse, and then Jimmy. Like when you think of like criminals of this caliber, there are only three options. Their options are either they die, they somehow get away to some other place where nobody knows where the hell they are, or they're in prison. I mean, it's so real to me, like how the three main people, at least that we follow in movie, TV form, whatever you want to call it, like that's really how it would go. You know what I mean?
You called it because if you look, Walter died. He lived by the sword and died by the sword. Saul is in jail, as you just said. He may have, flipped over to the other side, but you said, and then Jesse won. Mm-hmm. But he didn't really win.
He did his best. In that situation, he got the
he got the best. Yeah, you could say he won, but he's gonna have a lot of demons. Like who knows if he's ever gonna let anyone get close to him wherever.
I was on YouTube. Some people I was like arguing with them because they thought they were said like, oh, Jesse, he's fine, he's gonna be at peace forever. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, this guy suffered. He lost 2 of his girlfriends. He lost a friend. He's had to kill people, and like, he's the only guy who seems to murdering people bothers him.
If you want to go before he met Walter, he was a junkie, and his parents didn't even like him. This guy's got like, he had bad luck.
Suffered, like the guy has suffered a lot, and like, and for him to just think that just because he's in Alaska and that no cops or anything would be looking for would be absolutely foolish. They were in charge of at least in the Breaking Bad world, the greatest meth empire in America. That's not something that you just like, well, he got away. I mean, we'll just forget about him.
And to top it all up, there's 500,000 people that live in Alaska. That's it. It's the biggest state. We don't call it the biggest state, but it's like double the size of California. It's just because it's not connected to the mainland, but
it's his best option for sure.
When someone new comes in, if it's not the main city up there, you got to be looking over like, where are you running from? It's almost putting a flag up being up there. I mean, where do you guys rank these 2 shows as like all-timers?
Breaking Bad's my number 1.
It is your number 1.
It is my number 1.
It's tough. It's tough. It's definitely. I'm gonna put them together as one single thing.
Vince's universe.
Yeah, it's definitely a top 5. What are some of your other top shows? Go
for it, Drew.
Some of my favorite shows: The Wire, Sopranos, Twin Peaks, the entire show. Not the first 2 seasons. I love the first 2 seasons, but when The Return, I thought that was great too. The first 2 seasons of Fargo, I think, are fantastic. Yeah. And then this anime called Attack on Titan, which I know may not be in our domain, but that's a really good show too.
I'm going with always going to be, because I grew up like Kevin Arnold. Kevin Arnold was 12 and Winnie and Paul when I was 12. So it's always going to be the Wonder Years. It's something I watch. I always binge watch like in the dead of winter, because it's crazy because they keep getting smaller and smaller when I watch them in my eyes. But it's this, a lot of that life of his life, even though it's based in a different era, was a little bit more mirrored towards mine, especially the character of his father. He reminds me of my father. I'm not saying my father was that cranky, but that blue collar, no nonsense, pure respect. So it's always going to be the Wonder Years, no matter what. And then I bounce all over, like Married with Children, Roseanne. I think the Roseanne era particularly, I'm very big. Sopranos is right there. I go even like MASH. I think MASH was like revolutionary. I just think it was this one hell of a show. They don't make shows like that anymore. But then again, that was a show during a time that like a show like that mattered, because you got to see what it was like, where it was just constant people getting injured in war, and it's not a real hospital. You're just bring them to this tent basically and see if you could save them. So you saw some
mud on it.
You saw some comedy in there, of course, but it was also very serious of getting attached to characters, and are they going to make it? Are they not going to make it? And so when you say like recent years, has there been some good shows? Sure. There's also sometimes a lot of those like I don't get what the hype is, but I definitely put Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul in there. And like I would put it probably like 7 or 8, like in the top 10. I can't say the top 5 that I kind of named you was my generation. So
the show was perfect from beginning to end, and I read an interview with Peter Gould, the showrunner, and the person interviewing him, I forget what website it was, what website it was for, but they worded it perfectly. They said that they felt like Breaking Bad was a hidden middle season for Better Call Saul. And I think that's a very fair summary for the entire thing.
And I have to say, like, I always knew with the black and white flash forward scenes to Gene I always knew they were going to go in this direction of like, all right, so we're going to wrap up the 2004 timeline or wherever, and then we're gonna just do an epilogue of the whole freaking thing. That's how we're gonna end it. And I thought it was such a good swan song, man. I mean, I was just like the last 4 episodes to me was almost like its own little mini series just on top of it all. You know what I mean? Just to wrap. Not just Breaking Bad or El Camino, to wrap everything up perfectly.
The 2 comments I got on that is I would have liked to seen. I was talking before you got on with Will off, but I just wished when Lalo dies and shit, like I'm like, it was such like a high, like, oh, and now we fell the black and white of Saul drugging people. I thought they could have maybe edited them together to kind of keep them, I just think they could have did a better timeline, because I felt we went from up here to like he's doing little petty robberies, and there's not much time left. So I thought that one gem in that for me, seeing Carol Burnett made me really happy, because I believe that's the best actress of all time. In my eyes, is Carol Burnett. I found her humorous. Everything she's done, she's like, sorry, she's not in the Facebook, TikTok world. To anyone who's like, who's Carol Burnett? That's your problem. Like, that's sad that you don't know who we're dealing with here.
And at her age, she did great.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, she killed it.
Top 10 still. I think it was important for television. I think right with like I said, the other cable TV shows, such as, like I said, The Walking Dead. I think it changed TV. I think they somewhat played a little off of what Sopranos did on HBO, of like, you can show the nudity. You can say this. You can show the violence.
You can do this. You can
do this. Where, like what I was saying, I was praising Happy Days and shows like that. Like, there's no that's only entertainment to a point.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think cable is the way to go, and stuff for shows like this, and from Game of Thrones or any of those shows like that. Like, it's huge.
And I feel like a lot of people, they complain, or like, at least for me, I don't like the way streaming is gone. Like the way they'll throw out the entire season just in a day. I feel like Better Call Saul would not have been,
without a doubt,
fun. They would not have been as fun to like discuss and like think about.
Well, look at when Cobra Kai hits. Like, we love it, but after you watch it, and they're only half-hour episodes,
and
like, wow.
And after you watch that whole season, nobody talks about it. You talk about it once, and then, all right, well, let's just wait till next.
It's over within like 4 or 5 days. Yep.
That's why I love the weekly formats, and I will stick with it forever, because it's like I love to break down and discuss it online. Like, that's what it's all about, man. Like, I don't want to watch the entire thing and just be like, "Oh, that was great. All right, let's move on to the next thing."
If I could plug the audience, who probably already knows, but if you're liking Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, the show's not like this, but a well-written show. Definitely Yellowstone.
My dad's been trying to get me to watch that.
You'll be hooked. Give it 2 episodes. The first one's a little establishing of the character. That didn't do it after that, but. Yeah, that's another, like, wow. And it's just different. Like, there's no one soft here.
Right.
The two brothers want to fight in the house. Go out in the lawn and fight, and whoever comes back won, but you're going to put this shit behind you. I love that, like.
That's another one that's on my list.
Yeah, it's worth it. And they're all free on Peacock for whoever's listening right now.
Oh, all right.
So, I'm pretty sure it's probably no commercials if you have Peacock. The Paramount, but Peacock. So it's worth it. So, but with that, I thank this audience for checking us out. We drop a new episode every Monday at 5 a.m. That's when this will air. Please give me that courtesy and hit that subscribe button on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Will, Drew, thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul roundtable. And with that, I will tell everybody the party is over.